Hello and welcome. My name is Debbi Carberry. I'm a relationship coach, and today I'm going to be talking to you about detaching with love. Okay, so let's look at the way we react or respond in specific situations. What does that mean when we do it? A reaction is a subjective experience. It's oftentimes a really strong emotion that we feel. It might be anger or fear, something like that. Usually it's directed towards a specific person or a situation, and it's oftentimes accompanied by a physiological or behavioral change in the body. So, it might be that you get hot, you sweat, your throat is tight, your stomach is churning. So it gives you this absolute physiological response. A reaction often is really fast, not much thought, just straight into what's going on in your head. Oftentimes there's a sense of tension and aggression around reactivity. So reaction typically provokes more reaction. So if we react to somebody's behavior or what they're saying to us, oftentimes it's going to provoke them to react back at us. And this can create a really perpetuating cycle of distress between a couple or two people. And oftentimes there's that real circular argument that just goes round and round and round and nothing gets accomplished. A response, on the other hand, which is really much more helpful, generally speaking, is well thought out. It's fairly calm and it's not threatening. And sometimes what we need to do is actually put the space between us and the situation or what we are having a strong response to, so that we're able to actually respond to it in a different kind of way. Now, a way to do that is to detach. Now, when I talk about detachment, people oftentimes will get really kind of like, oh, that doesn't sound very kind. This is not about cold withdrawal. It's not freezing somebody out. It's not about being completely unaffected by other people. Quite the opposite. Sometimes you will be affected, but detaching will assist you in being able to manage that better. It's not about severing relationships and disconnection and not actually going there anymore. And it's not about removing your love or concern for somebody. So detachment is nothing to do with any of those things at all. Detachment is about being responsible for yourselves and allowing other people to be responsible for themselves. It's about disengaging from other people's unhealthy behaviors or the way they're treating you or the way they're doing their life. It's about accepting reality, whether we like it or not, but being able to sit there and say, this is how it is. And it's a lovely space of healthy neutrality where we can sit there and not be dragged along in somebody's emotional positioning or be pulled into dysfunction or crisis or drama. When is it important to detach? So for many of us, it's like, well, I don't even know when I'm supposed to be detaching. And I guess some really good indicators for you are things like when you can't stop thinking about, talking about, or worrying about a person or an event or a situation, when you're constantly churning it over in your mind and it drives you a bit crazy. When you have a really high level of emotional reactivity, so when you are very angry, very sad, very frustrated, very resentful, so when you are at the high end of any emotional state, is probably important to detach. When we feel like we can't stand something for one more second, and many of the women and couples that I work with have experienced this, where it literally feels so overwhelming, so intense, so distressing that you can't go on for another minute. Or if it feels like you're only hanging on by a thread. When it feels like it's impossible to detach, it is probably the absolute moment that you actually need to do it. When we start to feel that crazy that can happen in relationships, we really, really, really need to take a moment and start taking good care of ourselves. In that moment, it is vital for us to stop, calm ourselves down, detach, and ask ourselves, what do I need right now? Detaching is about separating yourself emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually, if necessary, from other people. So you may only need to emotionally detach, or you may actually physically need to detach. So it's important to think about, okay, in what way do I need to detach from this person? So it may be a behavior they have. You know, if somebody is domineering and in your face and quite aggressive, then you may want to detach from that particular behavior. If somebody has a lot of drama and crisis in their life and emotions run really high, then you may want to detach. Somebody who is repeatedly negative, you know, can only see the negative side of life. You know, their cup is really half empty, and so they whinge and whine and moan, and it can really bring down your level of joy and happiness and participation in your own life. People who blame, you know, pointing a finger always at the other, it's because of them, it's what they said, it's what they did, it's this always happens to me. So sometimes that is really important to detach from. Frustration and anger can be really important, and I think for people who've had a traumatic history or have been in relationships where there is lots of anger and frustration, learning to detach from another person's anger and frustration can be incredibly helpful. I'm sure we've all experienced this, people's opinions. You know, sometimes people think they're really helping us and they want to do the best for us, and so they will share ad nauseum their opinion on specific topics which they actually think is being helpful, but oftentimes what they're doing is trying to rescue us or trying to coerce us to believe something specific. So detaching from that can be incredibly important. Manipulation in relationships is another one that is really important. Feelings of guilt and shame are really quite interesting. So some people will go out of their way to try and shame you into behaving in very specific ways that they need you to do that. So disconnecting from and not being pulled into that guilt and shame or the dramas, being pulled into somebody else's stuff and being able to stand back and say, you know what, that's not about me and I don't want to participate in it. So when you are able to detach, you're going to find life is way easier, like way easier. You know, you're able to look at relationship dynamics that are playing out in a really objective way. So instead of being in it subjectively and being pulled around by it in all directions, you can kind of stand back a little bit and look at it from a bit of a distance and go, what's actually going on here? So when we're not right in the middle of it, we're able to look at it a bit more objectively. You're going to be able to see which problems are actually your responsibility and which are not. And this is really important. And part of understanding this is about boundaries. And I have another course on boundaries if you're interested in it. But when we're looking at a problem and we can go, hang on a second, here's my part. But this other stuff, this isn't my part. So when it's not your part, you're then able to detach, and that's really brilliant. And you can leave the other person to deal with their part in the situation. Choosing how you want to respond instead of automatically reacting is wonderfully valuable. And part of that is about, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, I know I have, that sometimes when I'm in my reactive state, I will say something really quickly that's come from this possibly really triggered space, or that I feel hurt or judged or whatever, but I've reacted quite strongly to it. And even as the words are finishing coming out of my mouth, I'm like, oh, yikes, why did I say that? No, 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 delete, delete, delete. And it's too late because I've been reactive. So when we choose to respond, we don't have to get into that state of regret after we've said or done something. So that's really helpful. It can also assist us in distancing ourselves from dysfunctional dynamics that are at play in relationships. And I guess think of your family of origin in this particular regard. You know, when your family gets back together, everybody moves into their position. Everybody gets into their role within the family. And dysfunction can play out quite quickly in a family of origin. You know, things that have historically always happened always do happen. And you might go, you know, the next time I go to my folks' place, I'm not doing this. You know, I'm not going to behave like this with my sister or brother or my aunt or my uncle or my grandparents or my parents. But when we don't detach, we can get sucked into that vortex quite quickly. When we are really able to detach, we're able to actually put a space between us and them and go, I see the dynamic playing out and I'm choosing not to participate in it. So detaching really is an incredibly helpful tool. So let's just be clear. Detachment doesn't equal not caring. We do still care. Of course we care. We love the people around us, but we need to just detach from specific things that continue to happen. It might be, wanting to engage respectfully with our partners, recognizing that people are responsible for themselves, that we don't cause people to be the way they are. People choose the way they behave. That's up to them. We haven't got that power. We're not that powerful to actually make people behave a certain way. It's not our job to fix people. It's not our job to rescue people. People aren't broken. They're adults. To be respectful of them, and trust that they will find their way out of their stuff. And if they don't, hopefully they'll go find somebody who can help them. But it's not our job to go and rescue. It is really possible, but not just possible, but really beautiful and kind to detach with love. It shows respect, courtesy and kindness to the other person. It demonstrates that we trust that they are going to be able to sort it out. It demonstrates that we allow them to take responsibility for their own behavior and we take responsibility for ours. So detaching with love is a powerful relationship changer, and it changes your own life and your relationship in ways you cannot begin to imagine. When we take our hands off other people's stuff, you'll be surprised what happens. Allowing other people around us to be responsible for themselves and the choices that they make, as well as taking on full responsibility for the consequences that can come out of their behavior. That's how we learn, by experiencing the consequences of our own choices. This really allows you to take responsibility for your own life. So detachment really is life-changing, in my opinion. So what are the benefits of detaching in loving ways? What would you get out of actually detaching? Well, when we detach, we can start to focus on our own lives again. We're not constantly in our heads thinking about the other person. It's a space where we can actually set some limits and boundaries with other people, and it really helps us to be able to say, no, that's not acceptable to me. It's a place where we can stay away from blaming others or ourselves, and we can actually get into being okay and being quite compassionate. We can move away from anger about things from our history. We don't have to keep regurgitating and experiencing the old stuff. It gives you a space to look at your own life and find ways to improve it. You have the time, the energy and the space to focus on yourself. You can start to actually listen to and hear your inner voice. You can learn to trust yourself again. You can learn to stand up for yourself, and you can actually require others to treat you in a more respectful way, in a way that you actually deserve to be treated. And detaching really will bring all these benefits to your life. So why might you need to detach? Well, if your relationship is not as healthy as you'd like it to be, there are some reasons that you absolutely may need to detach. You might find it hard to separate yourself from your partner's actions and reactions, kind of like you're both one person sometimes. What he does or she does somehow makes you not a good enough person, or what they say or they do kind of reflects on you. That's not healthy. And we are too enmeshed, too sort of intertwined with each other when we do that. So detaching means untangling ourselves from the other person and remembering that they're their own person, like we are our own person. When we detach in our relationships, it means that we don't accept blame for things that are just not our responsibility. We don't accept it. If it's not our responsibility, we just go, no, that's not my responsibility, sorry. We don't feel responsible for our partner's choices anymore. And partners make poor choices. It's not our job to then go and clean up their mess for them. So it's great when we've learned to detach, to be able to go, this isn't about me, this is about them. And to say to people, look, I'm really sorry, but you're going to have to speak to them about that. It helps us to distance ourselves from our partner's mood. If they're upset or distressed, we don't have to get pulled into it, so we can actually stay quite calm. I know many women I talk to will say, as he walks in the door, I can feel the energy, like he's fuming about something. And I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? And I get pulled into it. Well, by detaching, you could actually stop doing that, which is really helpful and allows your partner to actually tell you what's going on if they want to share it with you. And you can go about your stuff. Again, as I've mentioned earlier, not getting pulled into crisis and drama. And I think we all have one of those friends who just seems to constantly have something going on in their life. And they want, they'll contact you to share it with you and try and get you involved in it, try and get you to start siding with people and problems and situations. So you can actually detach from that. It also helps you in massive ways to resolve problems. It doesn't do that at all. It helps your partner to resolve problems for themselves. So when we're not going in there trying to rescue and fix and solve and find solutions for them, it actually helps them to find solutions for themselves. Our partners can do that. We have to trust that the people we love and care about have enough stuff to get through their problems. And our job is there to support, and it's not there to fix. We're not there to fix them. And it helps us not get involved in other people's issues. We don't have to get pulled into other people's lives or make their lives the focus of our own lives. When we don't have the time, the energy, the effort for ourselves because we are so busy being in other people's stuff. So this allows us the space to make space for us and what we want and what we need and what is healthful for us. When you detach, there's a lot of great stuff that comes with it. And this isn't, I haven't even said yet, what do you do when you detach? Detaching is a really simple process of disconnection. It's about not being entangled. It's about taking the tentacles off. And when we detach, we can look at the issues within the relationship way more objectively. We can recognize what we're responsible for. We can choose how we want to respond to things instead of that really automatic reactivity. And it really moves our relationship into a much healthier direction. Detaching is really about the moment when we notice and we go, I'm in the crazy right now. I feel blamed. I feel shamed. I feel guilt. I feel like I'm in an emotional tumble dryer. I feel like I'm being accused. I feel like this is getting too big. So in those moments, it's when we stop, and oftentimes the most important thing for us to do is literally stop talking and breathe. I always suggest to people 4, 7, 8. Breathe in through your nose for 4, hold your breath for the count of 7, and breathe out quite loudly for the count of 8. You can Google that actual breathing technique. That breathing technique done 4 times will really calm you down. It helps you to start thinking more clearly, because when we're reactive, we're in the reptilian brain, the back of our brain stem. We're not in the frontal part of our brain, which is our prefrontal cortex. And this is the place where healthy, good thinking goes on. So when we're in our reactive brain, in our fight, flight, freeze brain, we can't do the things we need to do to be responding. We're going to be reactive. So that breathing technique slows us down and gets us to go, hang on a second, what do I want to do now? And it might be that we say, I need to stop talking to you and go and do something else because this is really upsetting me. And you take a break from the situation, you go away and you do another activity. You may choose to go out for a walk, you might choose to sit and journal, you might talk to a girlfriend, you might quietly sit and just reflect, you might do a jigsaw puzzle, you might do a crossword puzzle, but you do something that is calming for you and creates some emotional space from your brain. You don't get into the churning thoughts, you interrupt the thought pattern and bring yourself into the moment. What can I see right now? 5 things I can see, 5 things I can hear, 5 things I can smell, 5 things I can taste or touch. So we bring ourselves back into our body and we get back in the present moment. And you might have to do that over and over and over again initially. But as time goes on, it becomes easier and easier and easier. And you will move back to the question, what do I need right now? You might need a hot shower. You might need a cup of tea. You might need to climb into bed and have a rest. So we tune into what are our needs right now. What do we want and need in this moment that's going to help us? And there is another workshop on getting your needs met. So have a look for that if you're interested in it. The bottom line with detaching is that we disconnect from the situation, we pull back and give ourselves the space and the objectivity that we need to be able to respond. And then we use boundaries. And like I said, there's a boundaries course there if you're interested in it. So for us, it's about that moment. It's about slowing things right down, choosing what in our best interest in that moment. And you may have to detach over and over again. For example, you might come into a situation with your partner and they're being angry and frustrated and they start reacting and you notice and you're like, wow, I'm ready to react. I need to detach here. And so you say, you know, I noticed that you're really angry right now, and you know what, I can't do this with you right now. So I'm going to go and have a walk. I'll be back in 20 minutes. And you leave and you walk and you come back, and as you walk back into the room, boom, up goes the anger. How dare you walk out on me? I need to talk to you. This is so disrespectful. And you say, you know what, I'm noticing you're really angry. I want to talk to you, but I can't talk to you when you're this angry. So I am going to go and make the dinner. I'm going to go get the washing. I'm going to go make a phone call. I'm going to go have a shower. You choose an activity that is helpful for you and say, you know, when you're calmer, I'm really happy to talk to you, but I won't talk to you right now. And that's about setting boundaries, okay? So when you come back, the person may still be angry, and you say, look, you know what, and this is when you set a boundary. If you continue to be angry with me, I can't talk to you. I can't talk to you. I'm happy to talk to you when you're calm, but I can't talk to you when you're this angry. And we repeat this behavior. So detaching goes hand in hand with setting boundaries with people. It goes hand in hand in understanding what our wants and needs are. And we need to use these activities to help put the distance between us and our partner when things are really agitated. It's really important for you to remember that these moments that you have are only temporary. So the discomfort of going, oh, he's going off and he's really angry, and oh God, if I walk away, he's going to go really, really mad, or I can't stop thinking about it, it's making me crazy. These are temporary experiences. Life changes all the time, in any moment. You think about any awful time you've had in your life and it passes. Think about any joyful moment you've had in your life and it passes. Because everything changes. Everything changes. All of the time. And who we are as people and who our partners are, that changes too. And so when you use these new techniques, it's going to be challenging initially, but know that it will make a difference, and know that it's going to actually help you to really have the relationship that you really want with yourself and with a partner, with your family, with your friends. You know, detaching doesn't have to be just about your partner. It can be about anybody you have any exchanges with. When we get the strong feeling that it's uncomfortable, people go, oh, but I hate that feeling. You know, because your brain isn't used to detaching, your brain is going to go, oh, that doesn't feel right. And all you have to do is remind yourself, you know, it's okay, brain. It's just a new thing that we're doing, you know, and we'll get used to it. It doesn't take too long. Probably 21 days of detaching is going to make it easier for you to detach. So knowing it's just new, knowing that the feelings come, feel them like a wave, like a big wave crashing onto the ocean. You know, it comes up, it reaches a peak, and then it starts to drop off. So noticing and going, right now my discomfort is a 10 out of 10, and I don't really feel good, and I don't like this feeling at all. And then checking in again after you've done some breathing, you've gone for a walk, you've done a different activity, and go, okay, where am I now? Well, now I'm a 6 out of 10. It's way more comfortable. This is much easier for me to manage. Check in again in 10, 15, 20 minutes time and go, wow, I'm down to a 2. This is easier to manage. So detaching is a skill. It takes time and patience and persistence and willingness. But if you do it, and you try and do it as often as you can when things are not going well or you're being reactive, I promise you, you're going to have much better communication with your partner. You'll be able to resolve things in a much easier way, and life will just generally get a whole lot easier for you. All right, so what are the benefits of detaching? Well, when we detach, we get to spend a heck of a lot less time worrying. So when we are stuck in that cycle of worry and rumination, sort of churning things over and over and over again, you know, we're stuck in the fear of what might happen next. We worry about what happened in the history. What did we say? What didn't we say? What's going to happen? What isn't going to happen? And we get into that really churning moment. You know, detaching is like the key to the door to get out of it. It helps us to move back into the present, which is the only time we have. Like this very second, we don't know what's coming next. We have this moment where we bring ourselves back to it, you know, by doing 5 things I can hear, see, smell, or taste, by doing our breathing, by noticing things in this moment. We bring ourselves back into the present moment, and it's in this moment that we have something we control. And the thing we can control in this moment is ourselves. That's what we can control. That's the only thing that we control. We focus on the current moment, and it's really calming, because all we have to deal with is this very second. Really freeing when you think about it. The other thing that's really important is moving to a space of acceptance. Acceptance is tricky for lots of people. You know, we want to kick and scratch and yell and shout and bite and carry on like tantruming toddlers about certain things. Like, it's not fair. But when we let go of the things and the way they should be, it's so much easier for us to focus on what actually is. And that leads us to acceptance. Even if we don't like it, even if we think it's wrong, even if we think that it shouldn't be happening, the bottom line is when we can move to a space of acceptance, we get more peaceful and more accepting, and life is way, way easier. You can't think something away. You can't. You can think about it for 1,000 hours and you're not going to make it change, because thinking changes nothing. Dwelling on difficulties doesn't change them. It does actually make you more distressed. In fact, the more you focus on it, the more large it gets. So it's really important to let go. And if you struggle with letting go, I have a short course on letting go as well. So go and download the short course on letting go, and it will show you real tangible steps that you can take to let go. It's a brilliant little course that really does show you step by step by step. It's got tons of exercises in it, tons of strategies in it that will help you let go and accept what is. Now, contentment and peace. Some people love it, some not so much. Me, I love a bit of contentment. I didn't used to as a young woman, but I absolutely do now. For some people, the thought of this is really distressing. Some people equate contentment and peace to boring and mundane and not much fun, you know, especially if they spend a lot of their lives in crisis and drama within their relationships. But if you practice a peaceful life, it is amazingly wonderful. No more racing thoughts, no more worries, no more sort of, you know, getting in the way of you being able to connect to other people in the present moment and really enjoying the moment that you have in front of you. I see so many couples and families where people are so busy worrying about what happened, their thoughts race about what's coming next, that every single special moment that's in front of them they miss. So for me, contentment and peace are the absolute most beautiful places you can go in your life, because it means you can savor the very seconds that just are special for you every single day. When we are in this really lovely detached space, we're able to love from a really free space, like it comes from a really healthy space. It is given without any requirement from the other person. It truly comes, you know, from a very loving space with no expectation of anything in return. So when we truly love somebody else, we need to love ourselves first. We need to take care of our own needs. We need to allow the other person who we love or care about to do the same. And then the relationship has a dynamic that can be extremely fulfilling. You know, if I give freely and the other person gives freely without all these expectations, without all of this entanglement that we can get ourselves into, if we come from a space of really responding to one another, responding to each other's needs, it is so beautiful. It really, truly is exceptionally beautiful. Control. This is an interesting topic, you know. What can we control, and what can't we control? And bottom line is, there's very little we can actually control. So focusing on yourself and allowing the people that you love to do the same is really important. We can't control anybody else. Nobody. No matter how much we may want to, we just can't. We can't control people, places and things. We just can't. It's not our responsibility to help other people have a healthier life, or help other people make better choices, or help other people get a job, or help other people get off of drugs. You know, it's not our job. You know, it's not our job. Children, different story. Our job with children is absolutely to guide them and help them on their path to healthy lives. It's really important. But our peers, our equals, our partners, nope. It's not our job. Moving to a space of accepting who people are, that we love, that is a really important gift to somebody. To just accept exactly as they are today. And you know what? Don't you want to be accepted? Don't you want to sit in a space of going, I'm good enough just like this. I don't have to change myself. I don't have to be something else. I'm loved just because I'm me. And I think we want that, and we need to give that to the people we truly care about. Unfortunately, sometimes that means that you may need to let go of some relationships if they're unhealthy. If you can't accept something, you are going to have to sit back and spend a bit of time going, if I can't accept this, if this is unacceptable to me, maybe this is time that this relationship ended. Rather than moving into a space of trying to cajole and change and control somebody, sitting back and going, you know what, this isn't healthy for them, this isn't healthy for me. I'm taking my hands off and I'm stepping back. Something else that I hear so often is about, you know, people trying to be really perfect, not wanting to make mistakes, not wanting to look bad, not wanting to say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, be the wrong thing. You know, and social media really perpetuates this, you know, the perfect images of our happy lives, you know, and turn off the camera, put down the phone, and guess what? Lots of people's lives do not look anything like that. You know, we see the highlight reels on social media. We don't see the drama, upset, and the heartache that goes on behind closed doors. You know, we are all imperfect, every one of us, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Imperfect is beautiful, which is why I have my Deliciously Imperfect Relationships group, because we are imperfect and it is delicious. There's nothing wrong. It means that we're all unique and different, and we bring something special to the table, you know. If you're bothered by an attitude or some kind of behavior that's putting a strain on your relationship, take some time to think about the positives and the things that you love, things that can help to change negative feelings about your partner. Of course, it's not okay to deny serious issues that impact on your life, though. Do you know what I mean? Like focusing on, you know, some people are irritating. My hubby's delicious, but he's a bit messy. And he doesn't pick up after himself. He gets cross when our kids don't do it, but he's been modeling not picking up after himself for a long time, so my kids don't do it. At the end of the day, I know this is who he is. He's not trying to upset me. He's not trying to hurt my feelings. He just doesn't matter to him. And I've had to really get to a, because I like tidy. Tidy makes me feel a bit more in control of life. There you go, some control. But tidy is helpful for me. It helps my brain stay nice and clear. It helps me manage my space well. But I've had to learn to not get resentful or angry at him, because guess what? It's just who he is. It's just who he is. I do things, I'm sure, that really tick him off from time to time. So accepting the imperfections, but not the serious things. You know, if somebody is verbally abusive, physically aggressive, you can't, that isn't imperfection, that's abuse, and that's a completely different ball game. So it's not about accepting those things, but it is about accepting the small things that wind us up from time to time. I love self-acceptance. I think that life is about self-acceptance, self-awareness, and self-compassion. I think those three things just are beautiful. And oftentimes in our culture, we're talked. Lots of people talk about, you know, having high self-esteem. I don't really follow that pathway. I don't think self-esteem is particularly good, in my opinion. But self-acceptance truly is. You know, it can become a habit to only focus on the negatives about ourselves, you know, and discount all of the positives. The bottom line is, I don't care whether you have two heads and a tail, you're black, white, yellow, pink, green, blue. It doesn't bother me if you're polka dot, if you're tall, if you're short, if you speak one language or another. I don't care. The bottom line is, no matter who you are, in any given moment, you are worthy of love, acceptance, and respect. You are worthy of love, acceptance, and respect in any given moment. If your needs for affirmation, affection, and care are not met by your partner, that's not okay. It's not okay. It's really important to remind yourself about all of the good qualities you have, all of the things that you bring to the table, all of them. Make a list of them. Write them on a piece of paper. Like, people don't do this, but it's so important. How many successes have you had in your life? What sort of personality traits do you have that you just love about yourself? What are your strengths? I mean, for me, I love a giggle. My sense of humor I love, and I think that I am a really funny person. I use humor in pretty much everything that I do. I've had so many successes. I've got 4 kids who are reasonably securely attached, which makes me joyful because I came from avoidant attachment style. You know, my personality traits, I am optimistic beyond measure. I think that I am a genuinely, truly loving, caring person. I think I treat myself in a loving, caring way, and I try and treat others respectfully. You know, look at who you are. Think about who you are, and be accepting of that person. You know, this is a really beautiful space for you to be in the world. We can't give what we don't have. You know, we can't be accepting of others if we're not accepting of ourselves first. Here's another thing. You're not who or what others define you as being. And this is a really tricky topic for many people. You know, if we have a history and we were defined by many things, by people around us, possibly in a negative way, then guess what? We can really start to embody that. But we're not the things that people say about us. We're not. We're not what they believe about us. You know, we're who we are. You don't have to conform to other people's perception of you. And you don't need to people please. You don't need to make them happy. You don't need to make them feel good. You just need to be yourself and live to your own values. You know, my values are about integrity and honesty, in purpose, in service. You know, these are really important values of mine. And if I follow my values, then I'm doing what I need to do in the world. And if other people don't like that, that's okay with me. So being who you are and embracing who you are is really, really important. You are enough just as you are, and you deserve to be happy and loved. You're worthy of love, acceptance, and respect. All right, we've come to the end. That went quickly for me, maybe not so much for you. Detaching is a really pivotal thing in any relationship. It helps us to understand how to manage some of the upheaval that comes in every single relationship that we have. It helps us to really think about the way we want to be in our relationships, the way we want to behave in our relationships. It helps us to take responsibility and respectfully allow the people around us to do the same thing. Detaching is an act, it's doing. It's about slowing the pace down, stopping, then breathing, then moving from that brainstem into our frontal lobe and saying, what do I need in this moment? Do I need to go off and spend a bit of time by myself? Do I need to distract myself with an activity? Do I need to get centered and be in my moment, looking around me going, I see trees and clouds and grass. What do I need in this very second to help me come back to myself, disconnect from some of the crazy that might be going on, and really honor this moment and me and the person who I'm having this moment with, for their highest good and for my highest good. Thank you so much for joining me for my workshop on detaching with love. As I've mentioned through this video, there are a number of other workshops available. There's communication, there's one on boundaries, there's a beautiful one on letting go, which is all strategies based. In addition to that, there are a number of other workshops, and I will be releasing more as time goes on. So please feel free to have a look around my website, Thank you very much, and the website details are at the bottom of the screen, debbicarberry.com.au. Thank you very much. Bye.